Hi, it's Hazel, and welcome to my channel, Hazel and Aka Design. Before I get to the job at hand, I want to make an announcement or ask a favor of you, and I've been forgetting to do it, so I better do it up front and instead of trying to remember to do it at the end. Paper Confessions with Cara Mia, and it might have been also BB's Closet Creations, came up, this is some time ago, like more than a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, came up with a challenge, I don't know, call to action, whatever the terminology is, by creating a hashtag called What's in a Name. And I was invited to take part in that by Carrie the Paper Monkey. And basically, it was an invitation for people to talk about how they came up with their channel name. I took it a step further probably and sort of did my origin story because I think, well, I don't know. I guess I think that everyone is like me and is curious about what makes people tick and why do people do what they do. And frankly, I can't get enough of those kinds of stories because I think there's always something to learn from others. So for whatever reason, I guess the video I had done, which is also available on the home page of my YouTube channel as a not a trailer, I guess, but it's the featured video there. If you haven't seen it, you might be curious as to what makes me tick. Anyway, Cara Mia mentioned in a comment that she doesn't know why she never saw the video when I posted it so long ago. And so that got me thinking. And anyway, I says, is it okay if I talk this up? And she said, for sure. So let this be a universal invitation. If you haven't done that sort of a video, and I think we were supposed to tag people, and I tagged a number of people, and some of them did it and some of them didn't. Feel free to just do it. Make a video explaining why you named your channel, what you did. And for my sake, if no one else's, tell me how you got into this whole business, this whole game, this whole special world that we find ourselves living in. Anyway, that is my plug for that. And I will mention the hashtag in the description box. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is salvaging fabric from thrifted clothing. Now, I didn't want to start with a full garment here because that is not a good use of my time or yours. But I will tell you, I did keep a lot of it intact. So this is the back. Oh, obviously it goes along further than what shows up in this shot. 100% cotton, excuse me, made in Guatemala. So I'm thinking this is a vest that a Guatemalan man would wear. Now, I was attracted to it because it's fabric. Yes, this is right. Okay, and these colors have an appeal to me. In particular, this back, the back of the vest, which is, to me, I can't see any difference between the front and the back. So it is very obviously, it's reversible, and it is something that would look gorgeous either way. Now, you may know about me that my metal of choice is copper. So I can see this colorway ending up in a copper colored journal. And in fact, there's enough here that I could make a journal cover or two. I mean, that's obviously taller than a journal. Geez, can you tell that I was covering buttons? They're kind of rolling into shot here when they should be behaving themselves. If you've ever watched any videos by Sandy Wilhelmina, you know that she runs a she and her husband Jim run a sheep rescue. Well, I don't know, not business, I don't think, well, whatever, operation. And so clearly they are animal lovers. And all of the dogs and sheep and whatever have names. And so if she randomly calls out names that you're unfamiliar with, you can almost be sure it's either a dog or a sheep. And I just find it very clever, sneaky. I don't know what the word is, that she has these four-legged scapegoats. Like, I know they're not goats, but so when anything goes wrong, when she forgets anything, when she misplaces something, when she makes a boo-boo, she's got somebody to blame. So I think I need something like that, because goodness knows I don't want to think it's always human error. And maybe that's time to bring this guy out. We haven't seen him for quite a while. I did a poll on my YouTube channel, and this guy is heavy. He's a couple of pounds. There was an unfortunate incident where he took a leap off the edge of the desk, landed on the instep of my foot, by the way, and broke his rack off. But through the miracle of E6000, I was able to repair him. However, anyway, long story short, I did a survey with some of the names that you had suggested for him, and Sir Moose-a-lot is the guy's name. And if you know anything about Canada, you know that we have a lot of moose, and moose are on one of our, the quarter coins. Anyway, so from now on, I think maybe this guy will be my scapegoat if I need one. Anyway, back to the job at hand. So all I did with this piece, because I want to keep all my options open, I don't know how I'm going to use it yet. I kept the piping, the contrasting piping intact. I kept the little fabric label intact so that, number one, I would remember that it is, in fact, cotton. And I kept the piping at the bottom of the vest intact as well. That may come in handy, or maybe it'll be cut off. Who knows? And what I'm finding, because I'm doing more and more of this kind of stuff, is that once you sort of salvage what you need, what you want, it takes up a heck of a lot less space in your wherever you're keeping it, as well as it makes things ready to use. So this is the piping that I removed. Didn't do a particularly great job, but nor was the stitching on this thing particularly good. It has sort of a rustic homespun feel to it. So, oh, here's another piece. Then, as you may have noticed, I left one half of the I don't know why my throat is hoarse. Excuse me. I left one half of the vest intact, except of course cut off at the shoulder, at the what do you call this? Yeah, shoulder seam, and this at the side seam. I'll just fold that under. Now this has loops. I'm not sorry. I'm not quite sure why, because there weren't any buttons on it. I don't know if those had been taken off or whatever. So I'll just set this aside because we don't. Sorry, maybe a swig of water would help. We don't have room for all of this. Now, the interesting part about this is this lining. I'm thinking it makes a great deal of sense to have something like this built into a garment, because I can only imagine that it's a very hot country, and overheating would be a very real factor. So this was obviously machine done, I would say. I'm positive of that, although I don't know the mechanics of how that happens. And of course, some people, including me, somewhere, have a thread, jar, whatever. So this is what the backside looks like. Obviously, this could be cleaned up a lot. And I'll just show you what I would do next. And of course, because you never really know kind of the thickness of what you're cutting through, it makes sense to have some good scissors. I'm surprised. These aren't any kind of name brand. They're not, other than stainless inox, whatever that is. They are not expensive scissors, but yet they seem to be so nice and sharp. I guess they've never been used on paper. And I added the ribbon as a reminder that these are not to be used on paper. So what I would do at this point is cut, again, totally random decision as to how wide. Now this seemingly is something that should go in the garbage. However, it could very easily be used as some decoration. I kept a little more of the lining showing. Again, will I get to this and use it? I don't know at this point, but I'm keeping that option open. Now, you can see how luscious this looks. And I'm not going to lose anything on either side by cutting. Now it seems to want to go towards the front. So maybe I will just, now I'm sure that looks like twill, which has those very clear diagonal lines. So I'm not even going to try to tear it. I'm just going to try to cut relatively straight along here. I will then, I don't know if this will tear either. I guess I could try. Ooh, not that well, but it does make, well, no, I guess I better cut because I don't, and I'm just doing as close as I can get to the seam without cutting the threads. So, quite often we would like the torn look, but some fabrics just don't lend themselves to it. Others are cut so crookedly that, really you can ruin, excuse me, ruin a piece of fabric. Didn't cough once today until I turned on the camera. But isn't this cool? This could be page edging. I mean, it is a little bulky, but, worst case scenario, I guess I could cut that last layer off and it would still have 3 nice fringy things. So I'm going to put that aside. And then we're left with this. Now, again, let's just get out a ruler and see what we're dealing with here. Now this, I didn't, wait, did I wash it or didn't I? With fabric, I give some, I'll tell you, I give it the sniff test. If it smells lovely, then I know that whoever donated it washed it before they donated it. So why would I waste water, soap, electricity to do something that doesn't need it? However, if it smells like it's been in storage, you know, that sort of that old cloth smell, and if it's washable, I will wash it and iron it. This I did not. Okay, I was going to measure this. Let's see. Now that is a wee bit, not exactly. It's hard. It's sort of a little wavy because of the embroidery. Let's pretend that that is a straight edge. So a little over 9 inches there, about 9 there, 9.5 there. And of course, from this armpit, that is the narrowest point here, we see that we've got basically 10 3/4. So actually, is this the time to use that thing I thrifted? Now, you probably haven't seen that video yet, but I don't know if this is, I didn't read the instructions really to figure. I think this is more for cutting squares. But clearly, if I was going to cut this, I would square it off from that point, get rid of this triangle, and I would do the same here. Now, it's hard to say what might happen to this embroidery that gets cut. I think that I would want to be ready, now it's not here, it's at the sewing machine, with a fray check, or another thing I sometimes use is art glitter glue, because it dries clear. You can get a nice fine stream of glue, and it does the same thing. It seals an edge. So I wonder, should we just bite the bullet and do it? Okay, let's pretend that that is lined up. And again, because I'm a little bit scared, I'm going to add an extra inch or so that if there's some fraying or whatever, I can, so this is not at all accurate in terms of squareness, but it is making for a more manageable size pieces. So let's see what's happening here. Oh yeah, so that would unravel. But there's just this little bit of green here that's touching. And at this end, there would be no such thing. So if I just, again, try to eyeball this, I'm using the maybe I'll go over a bit, the grid line on my mat, desk mat there. Again, not totally squared, but I would be much more accurate when the time came. Now, because this is now a bit lopsided in terms of all the pattern is here and there isn't much there, maybe what would make more sense is to imagine that gone and imagine that being the cover. Now, you don't have to do a heck of a lot more to, well, it would actually be up to there, because this would be turned under as well. This is fairly stiff, I have to say. So it ends up being smaller than I thought, but that's fine. I guess I could also, mind you, then I'd run into a problem there. that's probably what ends up happening, is that it becomes just a smaller cover. I think I will just quickly, while I'm talking, touch this glue to this so this doesn't unravel, because that would create some problems in the future, or potential problems. No, there are no problems in the craft room. It would be a challenge. So I'm just kind of smearing that a bit. And I'll add that to the pile on the side. Now I have this, which could easily, I see it, an angled pocket right there. So this is not, see, this is where, but I didn't think of that. This is where bringing the rotary cutter into play would be better, because it's easier to get a nice clean cut with that as opposed to hacking away at with scissors. So that's what I would do. I would, how wide are we going here? 3.5. So yeah, I would cut it, you know, about yay. I'd straighten this out. I would cut this, make it about 3.5 inches total. Probably cut, or mind you, this could be a second. This could be a second little, this would be the tuck spot, and there would be a little pocket at the bottom. And would we want this to fray a bit? Perhaps. Now, because it's kind of, well, let me just, again, cut this bigger than necessary. Here's another really nice seam. Does that become a pocket? Look how I just throw that aside. I'm on to the next thing. Now, is that loose? Okay. Now, this is really thick fabric, so I don't think I would need to, I'm just going to cut as close to the seam line as I can. Again, snippet or cluster material there. That becomes a pocket. Square this off, or even maybe leave it a weirdo shape like that. And already almost decorated. I don't think I would bother, that side is kind of cool too. I don't think I would bother trying to fussy cut around this because it's rather big. But yet there's something kind of appealing to me about the burgundy and the orange. Anyway, I think to get the most mileage out of this, I would, oh, and I would sew along the edge. It doesn't need any, whatchamacallit, you know, stiffening, because it is heavy to begin with. So yeah, to prevent fraying, once I get the edges straightened out and figure out what I'm doing, I would sew around the edge and sew a little pocket. So let's just fray a few more rows, because that's going to determine, you can see how easily that comes apart. Now, because that is crooked, or the way it was cut, I mean, not that it was necessarily crooked, but just the way it was cut to get to be on the straighter grain, this fringe is totally uneven. So I guess the question becomes, leave it uneven or trim it down to the narrowest, whatever the narrowest part there is. Maybe a few more rows. I'll do this until the whole thing disappears. And then, of course, wouldn't these threads, because they're pretty, well, they're attractive. And they're also, you know, thick. Those could easily be worked into a master board or a little thread cluster under a focal point. I'm thinking that that long fringe interferes with the pocket, so let's maybe leave a bit of it there. This is like when you go to the hairdresser. They're evening out a cut. So I think what would be smart before to sew along here to keep it from going any further, to keep it from unraveling any further, and then sew around the four sides, and in effect creating the pocket that way. Do I have a couple of, well, no, it's premature to pin it into place for the sewing machine because it does need to be straightened out. Maybe not so much this side. Yeah, I think that's crooked too. I will use my, why don't I do that right now instead of making you wonder if it turned out or not. Again, I'm trying to prevent using this for actually cutting on. No, again, too bad my rotary cutter isn't here. I don't know how well you can see. Now, the only thing we know for sure is that this is straight. Not my fringe, but the other part. So I'm going to use that as the place that I line this up for as much as I can see through there. So we know that this quilter square is in fact a square. So we see that that is the part that has to come off. And I hope this blade is sharp enough to do that. Oh, maybe I need to slide over a bit more. I have a whole bunch of replacement blades for this knife, and I love this knife. It's metal, which means it's not crappy plastic. It's Olfa brand. It's petite enough for a female hand, you know, as opposed to those honking big, these things. This is kind of, oh, see, that doesn't look straight. But again, it could be the ironing, or the lack of ironing. Okay, so let's call that square. Line that up, top and bottom. You probably can't see that through there. Well, let's hope this works. See, a rotary cutter would not be pulling on it like that. Excuse me, unless the blade was pretty dull. If I can at least, okay, that's starting to work there. Or at least if I could see the mark, then I'd finish it off with scissors. You know, sometimes it's just false economy using the wrong tool for the job. But at least now you know you have a better idea of how I would have actually done this. Okay, I think that looks a bit better. So now I can pin this. Pretend you don't see the lint. Let me just, sure hope I'm not, I was going to say, sure hope I don't have my boobs in the shot. Okie dokie. And the pin is just, you know, a kind of an old habit from actual sewing. It's a good way to keep things together, as long as you pull it out before your needle actually goes over it, because you can either bend the pin or break your needle. Okay, so that's how that would be. Boy, I have enough lint here to last me a lifetime. Okay, so you can, and I still have the other half of this, which I will leave intact. I have this to decide on, either square up or leave alone. I have this that could become, would become a journal cover. I have this that could be page edging. I have this that is, well, it's probably too thick for a tie, but it could be a tie, I suppose, around the journal. Although it was pretty, I don't know. Anyway, I've got that. I've got this little piece. I have all of this, which would be great when you want sort of the look of cheesecloth. If you like that peachy color, in fact, that might even work in my blush journal. This has more stability to it. It's less, you know, airy and open weave. And then, of course, this that could become a couple of journal covers. Definitely this will go into the project basket, project bin for where I'm collecting my copper stuff. So I'm going to stop there. I just want to encourage you to look at things in your closet or things that you are finding in thrift stores with a new pair of eyes and seeing the possibilities, because they are many. And again, a reminder about what's in a name, hashtag. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.